These 2-ingredient donuts take less than 10 minutes and they're the easiest donuts you'll ever make. They're soft and fluffy and incredibly delicious. Welcome to Recipes by Karina, where I share with you how to make classic and simply delicious recipes. Make sure to follow my page or subscribe for a new recipe each week. To start off making the donuts, in a medium-sized mixing bowl, measure out the self-raising flour. We'll need 1.5 cups or 190 grams if you're using a digital scale. If you would like the full recipe for these donuts, it'll be on my website as well as the full measurements listed in the description box below. If you don't have self-raising flour on hand, you don't need to buy any especially for this recipe. Simply take 1.5 cups of regular standard all-purpose flour and add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder and give it a quick mix together. This will work for any recipe requiring self-raising flour. The second ingredient for these 2-ingredient donuts is 1 cup of Greek yogurt. I always get asked for substitutes, so if you don't have Greek yogurt on hand, natural unsweetened yogurt will also work. Buttermilk can also be used, but you will want to use about 3/4 of a cup as it is a much thinner consistency than yogurt. Using a wooden spoon, give the ingredients a good mix together until you've started to form a dough. While you're making the donut dough, make sure you have a large saucepan or a cast iron Dutch oven filled with a neutral oil like vegetable or canola over medium heat so it'll be hot and ready to fry the donuts. When you can no longer mix the dough with a wooden spoon, tip it out onto your work surface and knead for about 30 seconds to a minute, just until all the dry flour has been fully incorporated into the dough. You might find it's a little on the wet side and is sticking to your hands, but just dust with a little more flour. Using a small spoon or just your hands, portion out about a tablespoon's worth of dough and roll it into a ball. Use a little extra flour to stop the dough sticking. This works really well if you want little donut holes like I'm making here. If you would prefer round donuts with or without holes, you can also roll the dough out and use a cookie cutter instead. Continue this step until you've made all of the little donuts. You should end up with about 15 or so, depending on how big they are. If you'd like to make more or less donuts, you can easily halve or double the recipe. I would recommend making as many as you need at once, as these don't tend to stay fresh after a day and I think they're best eaten warm. When you're ready to fry your donuts, check your oil. The easiest way to do this is with a thermometer. You want it to be about 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have a thermometer, you can fry one donut first to check the temperature is ideal. It should take about 2 to 3 minutes in the oil and turn a golden brown. Using a spoon, carefully lower the donuts into the hot oil. This is best done in 2 to 3 batches depending on how large your pan is, so the donuts don't cool the oil too much and stick together. While the donuts are frying, it's time to prep your toppings, and honestly the options are endless. I'm going with a classic cinnamon sugar, but you can just drizzle them with salted caramel sauce or chocolate sauce, or leave them plain and have with your favourite ice cream. If you are making the cinnamon sugar too, in a small bowl measure out 1/4 cup or 50 grams of white granulated sugar. To that add 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon and give a good mix together. If you wanted to make your own salted caramel sauce, you can find the recipe for that linked in the description box below, which would go so perfectly with these donuts. Let me know in the comments below what your favourite topping or filling would be for these, maybe some whipped cream and strawberries, chocolate ganache or custard. After about 2 to 3 minutes, or when the donuts are golden brown and puffed up, use a slotted spoon to remove them from the hot oil. You can either use paper towels or a wire rack to drain off the excess oil. Let them cool for about 30 seconds to a minute while you put the next batch of donut dough into the hot oil. Take your fried donuts and place a few at a time into the bowl with the cinnamon sugar. Toss them around with a spoon until they are completely coated. Set them on a plate to enjoy. I hope you give this recipe a try. These are so simple and easy to make and the perfect sweet treat. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in my next video.